If you're a fan of superhero animated TV shows, you're gonna love this PowerPoint thing I did. Obviously, many people will disagree with what I'm gonna say, but there's some certain shows which people think are the best, but are not the best, and I want to talk about it in this, presentation. So I've arranged it from 13 to 1. So the next slide will show the top number 13th superhero animated TV show of all time, and that's Teen Titans. The reason why Teen Titans is the 13th show is because it's a great TV show, but let's be honest, this show is for kids. It was intended to be for 9 to 12-year-old kids, but it's just too kiddish. The only thing that I liked about the show is that the anime style to it, like when they get angry, the heads are so huge, and then the way the arms so fast, like it's kind of funny, but it's not the best. So yeah. Also, the one other thing I like about the show is the chemistry between all the characters. You can obviously see the chemistry between Robin and Cyborg, best friends, and Starfire, and I believe that's Raven. Yeah, Raven. All of them have great chemistry. I actually like Starfire because she's trying to fit in the humans. But it is a pretty good show. But the only drawback, it's just too kiddish. I'm sorry, guys, but that's the reality. Number 12 is Wolverine and the X-Men. Basically, the premise of this show is, in the beginning of the series, someone bombs the Xavier Mansion, and as a result, they lose, the mansion, and they also, in the series, they lose important people like Jean Grey and Professor Xavier, and that causes many of the X-Men, like Iceman and Storm, to leave and to go back to their former, where they used to live. I guess Storm in Africa and Iceman with his parents. But then I believe Angel and Wolverine help reunite the disbanded X-Men team, and they find Xavier, who's in a comatose state, and he basically tells Wolverine to get all the X-Men back together and fight this protest against mutants, because it will lead to a war with the Sentinels and all those type of things. Now, I thought the show was very interesting. Like, I remember watching this on Nickelodeon a few years ago. It was a good plot. Everything was good. However, backstory, like, unless you know about Wolverine and the X-Men, you wouldn't know why they were superheroes in the first place. Unlike XMen Evolution, where they actually talk about the characters and they get into their lives and how they became X-Men. This one assumes that you know about them, and I just focuses on dealing with this anti-mutant protest. That's the only drawback to the show, so that's why I put it at number, 12. Alright. Number 11, Batman Beyond. Obviously, if you've seen the show, it's a pretty good show. It's about how Batman, I think it's important to see, like, there's an episode where an aging Batman 2019 has to save this daughter who belongs to this, I guess, a rich person. And during the fight, Batman suffers a heart attack, and he does the unspeakable. He actually uses a gun to try to ward off this bad guy who's trying to attack him, or who is attacking him. And that causes him to stop donning the Batman cape, stop being Batman. Now, fast forward to, I believe, 2039, and there's this kid named Terry McGinnis. He's a former troublemaker, he's trying to do the right thing. However, one day he meets these gang called the Jokers, who try to attack his girlfriend. So he goes and defends his girlfriend, and apparently the fight leads up to the Bruce Wayne Manor, and, an aging Bruce Wayne and Terry McGinnis fight off the attackers. But as you know, Bruce Wayne is suffering from a heart condition, so he has a problem. So I guess Terry McGinnis takes him into the house, say, "Hey, are you okay?" And then when he wakes up and recovers, he kicks him out. Um, and eventually, Terry McGinnis discovers his father was being killed by a bodyguard by Derek Powers. So obviously he wants to fight those bad guys. So he asks Batman, "Hey, you used to do this type of gig. Why don't you go and fight him? Let's go fight him together." And Batman says no, because he's old. So Terry McGinnis decides, he's gonna fight them himself. So he takes the Batman suit and fights them. And then when Bruce Wayne discovers, hey, he took my Batman suit, this suit, unlike the other Batman suits, it's more like an electronic type of suit, so he can be able to control it and cause it not to work. And that was kind of bad when he was fighting the bad guys. So, I guess Bruce Wayne said, okay, fine, you can, beat him up for a minute. But soon, Terry McGinnis becomes like Robin, except now he dons a Batman suit. And I guess Batman was kind of angry before, because in the other episodes he was still there. He was still Batman, even though he had some sidekicks like Batgirl and Robin. He was still there. Now to be replaced, the reality hit him like a brick wall. Like, wow, I really need to train another person to do what I used to do. So it was a pretty good show. It showed the more vulnerable side of Bruce Wayne as being an old person who has to drop it down his ego, has to kick out his ego, and train a new Batman in order to carry out justice in the city. So that's why I think it was number 11. Number 10 is X-Men Evolution. As you very well know, X-Men Evolution is about a series of that talked about superheroes known as the X-Men and how they basically defeat bad guys. I mean, maybe towards the end, it dealt more with the main villain Magneto. But I think in season 1 was just you got to see more of the backstory, and I think that's the advantage of the show. You see a lot of backstories, and that helps you connect more with the character. You see, okay, this is why they're maybe a hero or a villain. So that's really why it's number 10. It's a pretty good show. Yeah, it was good. Number 9. Batman, The Batman. This is a good TV show. It had some good stories of Batman basically defeating bad guys with the help of his sidekicks, Robin and Batgirl. The stories were good. The animation was great. Let's just say that first of all. However, the villains, there were too many villains in the story. You had Joker, fine. You had Penguin. You had Catwoman. You had Freeze. That's great, but the problem is when you have all those villains, none of them stood out. Even the Joker didn't stand out. He was like, oh, he's just another villain. Oh, yeah, there's the Penguin. There's probably some more, villains were in there. Clayface was okay. I mean, because he used to be, Bruce's friend. But the problem is, none of the villains stood out as this is like the greatest villain in the series. All of them just were like the same. And I think that's the problem with the series. Because unlike Batman the Animated Series, when you think of that, who's the one villain you think of? Joker. Period. It doesn't matter if it's Bane or anyone else. That's why it's at number 9. Number 8. The Spectacular Spider-Man. As you very well know, this TV series focuses on Spider-Man's origin story. How he was bit by the spider and became Spider-Man and how he takes out bad guys. The advantage of this show, and I think the thing that carries this show the most is Peter Parker's charisma. He is the most charismatic superhero I've seen in a long time, like in an animated TV show. He's great. He carries the story. The villains like Rhino, Venom, all the other villains, and especially towards the end, Harry Osborn, are great. I mean, they just mesh well together, and that's why it's a great TV show. Now, as you very well know, I've been talking about the Spectacular Spider-Man. The only thing I disliked is when they stopped making the show and replace it with the horrible Ultimate Spider-Man. Do you understand how bad Ultimate Spider-Man is? It's just basically it's Peter Parker with a bunch of other superheroes, but he's like Dora the Explorer. Every time he fights, he stops. The screen, like the back screen, turns gray, and then he starts talking to you. It's like, oh, I'm gonna start doing this now. Like, I already know that. It's just detracting from the story. He feels like, I think he's like Dora, and the horrible, not horrible, but the little pictures of Spider-Man, like when he has an oversized oval head, and those little things that just detract from the story. They should have continued with Spectacular Spider-Man Season 3, but they stopped it, and that was a bad decision. So, yeah, I just had to let that go out of my chest. Number 7. Young Justice. What can I say? This is a great show. I mean, you have great characters. You have these sidekicks, Aqualad, McGann, Robin, Connor, and Wally, trying to live like they always live under the shadows of their, predecessors, and now they're trying to become real superheroes and not sidekicks. And so they go through a lot of adventures, and you defeat a lot of villains, and it's just a well-constructed show. The good thing about this show is you have strong characters. It's just you have strong characters. You have a good show, a good script. The only probably small thing is maybe they don't talk as much about their origin stories, except obviously for McGann and Connor. But it's really a good show. I can't criticize this from now on. It'll probably be a bias on all the other TV shows I've watched. It has to be there, but I can't put it at the top. I'm sorry. It's just the reality. Number 6 will probably be a shocker to a lot of people, so get ready to be surprised. Superman the Animated Series. As you obviously know, Superman the Animated Series is about Clark Kent, being Superman, taking out bad guys, and that's basically the show. I mean, it's a great show. It's an iconic superhero animated show. That's pretty much settled. Everyone knows that. But my only gripe with the show is he's Superman. Like, how you can't relate to a person like this because he's always powerful. I mean, he's like John Cena, how John Cena can, no matter how many times he's beaten up, he's always gonna get up and start fighting. Yeah, he's basically him, except he's allergic to kryptonite, or that thing can kill him. I just didn't relate to him. I did relate to him in Smallville. I know that's not an anime show, but I just didn't relate to him in this superhero show. But it was a good show nonetheless. Number 5. I think number 5 is going to shock a lot of people, but get ready to be shocked anyway. Number 5, Batman the Animated Series. What can I say? This is like one of the greatest superhero animated TV shows of all time. It had a good cast, it had a great villain. The Joker, Mark Hamill, is the man, right after Heath Ledger. It was a good show, but this is where bias kicks in, because to me, I can't say it's the greatest, but it's great. Yeah, so that's really it. What is the next one? Number 4. The Legend of Korra. Usually people talk about DC and Marvel shows, but technically the Avatar series is a superhero type of series. And The Legend of Korra is like the coolest ongoing series right now. Obviously Korra is like the next Avatar after Aang. She's mastered water, earth, fire. She just needs to master air. And this show is really good because it has a great villain. Amon is the man, who's always against Korra. And the way it's been written, with great storytellers. I think it's called Brian Mackenzetto. I don't even know his name, but he's a great storyteller, and that's why this series is just amazing. It's really that good. If you haven't watched it, you should. It's like just amazing. I don't want to say any more because I'll just spoil the whole series for you. Alright? Thanks. It is Justice League Unlimited. It was a great show, great cast. I actually learned most of my DC heroes from this show. Because there are so many. Like I think Black Goliath was one. Question, Fate. It was a great series. It was the best. I think it was probably one of the best shows ever. The only thing I had about it is I guess the superheroes, as you see in the front, Superman, Batman, Flash, all overshadowed the other heroes. I thought that was the only drawback to the show, but other than that, it was a great show, great script, great characters. I just love that show. Number 2 was obviously Justice League. This is where now bias starts kicking in. It's just a great show. I mean, great cast, great everything, you know. But it wasn't the best, as you'll see why, you know, at a later time. And now number 1, dun dun. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Period. Hands down. Best story, best script, best villain who turned out to be a hero. The greatest ensemble cast ever. Sokka, or whatever his name is. Katara, Aang, Toph, all of them were an ensemble cast, which means all of them had equal importance. Even Sokka, even though he didn't have any powers, it was just a great cast. Zuko, I mean, my goodness, this show was really that good. I know it's probably overshadowed by Batman, the animated series, and that's a great show, but this is like an iconic show. It probably will be known as one of the greatest superhero animated TV shows of all time. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and have a nice day.